Hello, everybody. I'm back on YouTube. It's been a long time since I've actually recorded a video and posted it. And I decided to bring Angie on. If you guys haven't seen Angie, go check out her channel. It's under your name, right, Angie? You're
Yeah.
get
Some
into the
folks call me the Fickle Chickle. So I think you can look up Fickle Chickle and it pops up too, just because I don't know. That happened a long time ago. People started calling me that.
Well, I will link Angie's channel down below. She makes amazing food on her channel and talks about random stuff. I love your channel, actually. I think you're hysterical. So when I need a good laugh, I go to your channel. And also, Angie has a pickling business, and I've actually had the pleasure of trying some of the pickles, and they're like the best pickles I've ever had. They're crunchy and there's nothing artificial in them. So if you
Did you
guys
eat the
want,
okra? Did you try the okra?
I haven't tried the okra yet. I haven't yet. We tried the wedgies, your green tomato wedgie thingies. I love the name, by the way, wedgies. And my son loves those. I'm a big pickle, like I love just like basic dill pickle or bread and butter pickle and stuff like that. We haven't tried the sticks yet. And I was away for a month, so after you had sent everything, we haven't opened everything yet. So we're just opening one jar at a time. But it's really, really good, and I recommend people, giving them a try. So if you want to purchase something for, let's say, Christmas, I think it'd be a great Christmas gift because it's coming from, somebody that's not in the corporate world. And you had put this company together during the recession, the last recession, right?
2008. Yeah. My husband was a builder and he had all these little houses that he had built to sell. And one by one, we just lost one after the other, had to give them all back to the bank.
Yep.
And then the last house to give back to the bank was the one we lived in. So I started selling pickles off my front porch. I would just post on Facebook at the time that I was pickling beans or I was pickling green tomatoes that day, and then people would order right there. I believe this was even before you could private message on Facebook, which was really great for my business because people got to see all these people ordering. It was like real time, they were just down in the comments just ordering on my Facebook, like right on the page. And so it created this whole kind of a cult following really, really fast for locals, and then kind of all over the Southeast. Yeah,
So everybody, this is her business here. I will also link this website down in the description box below. I want to try your sauces too, because special. Ooh, honey burp. Oh, honey Q. I like that. I like that. Honey Q.
I know, little wink, wink.
So yeah, guys, give Angie's business a try if you like pickles. And ooh, sprouts. I like Brussels sprouts a lot. So I'm gonna have to give those a try. And yeah, I mean everything is completely natural. There's nothing artificial in it, right?
Right, right.
And you get all of your ingredients from local farmers in the area. Is that correct?
Pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. Sometimes our carrots come from further away, but mostly South Georgia and North Florida.
Mm-hmm. But it's still relatively local to you, regardless. You're not getting it from, other countries or anything. It's
I literally go meet the produce truck every single weekday. Like they don't come to my facility because of where it's located. It's kind of hard to get to, but I go and meet the truck like every day. It's like they like text me and say that they're at such and such restaurant, and I wonder what people think when they see me like pulling up to a truck and like handing over money. And like, yeah, it's produce. It's just vegetables. But
but yeah, I truly like it. You're good at what you do, and I think we need to really support businesses that are, family owned, mom and pop type shops and stuff like that, because that's where I think we're headed that way. I think we're getting away from, the whole corporation type of thing like Walmart and stuff like that. Plus, going into Walmart and getting produce at Walmart is just disgusting, anyways. Ugh, nasty. I
well, and
don't.
in the beginning, I've stuck with this the whole time. I've only sold to mom and pops. So like all the
Yeah.
stores I sell to, I actually know the people behind the store. You know,
Yeah.
I know all the mom and pops that I sell to. I don't sell to any big box stores. And I was even, I remember thinking like Williams Sonoma, you know, you used to get those catalogs and, you know, I love cooking. And so I was always loving looking through all that stuff and coveting every Le Creuset pot. But, and then Williams Sonoma reached out to me and wanted to carry pickles at Williams Sonoma. And I was so excited. It took like 2 months of going back and forth with them. And finally I ended up telling them like, no, you're nothing but Walmart with a fancy logo and you can't have my product. They wanted to pay nothing for it. They thought that like just by their name being associated, you know, like, you know, just because I could say that I was, you know, in their catalog, that was enough. Like, no, I can't.
Yeah, which totally shows you how these corporations work anyways. So
Oh, and
yeah,
I cried when I sent that email. I was like, you are nothing but Walmart with a fancy logo. Bye.
that's so funny. And that's essentially what they are, and they're so freaking expensive. You know, I remember even I've always liked to cook too. So when me and you meet in person, we're probably gonna have like a cooking party or something. I've always, I mean, ever since I started having an active role in whatever this is, whatever we call it, the Great Awakening, whatever, and doing YouTube stuff and doing my readings, I haven't had the time to really sit down and actually come up with new recipes and cook. I don't ever go by recipes. I just do a dash of this and a dash of that. I'm a Sicilian cooker. And so I used to just make up. Yesterday, I just made homemade General Tso's chicken for the boys. And
Yeah.
I actually replaced the chicken for myself with chickpeas. And it was really good. And I put flour on the I drained the chickpeas and then I put flour on the chickpeas and some seasonings and I fried them in the frying pan and got them all crispy like General Tso's chicken and then I put the General Tso's sauce over it and better than chicken.
That's a great idea. I've done it with tofu, but I know a lot of times people have issues with soy.
I don't like tofu. I do
like
regular peas, but it came out good. I put it over rice with a bunch of stir-fried vegetables. I should be eating raw vegetables because I need to be eating more Vata foods. I was really hankering for Chinese food though. Really hankering for it, but I can have chickpeas on my diet, so that works. And I've actually tried one of your recipes. That was your chickpea mock chicken salad.
Chicken salad, yeah.
That was very, very good, by the way. So Angie has, I'm actually going to try to find that video and link it down below because if you are eating the dosha way, that's a good Vata recipe. So if you're Kapha and you need to eat more Vata foods like me, that's an excellent recipe and it tastes like chicken salad, but it's not chicken, it's chickpeas. I love chickpeas, like love it.
I do too. I can just eat them.
Yeah, I put them in my salad. I like having what are they called? They're kind of like chickpea fritters. What are they called? Frittata or whatever, or not a frittata. Oh my gosh. I forgot what they're called.
I make them sometimes. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Oh, what are they? Falafels. Yeah. It's like a breaded chickpea type of, I don't know. It's really good though. So yeah, Angie puts amazing recipes in her channel. So go check them out. And you've also been trying to create different dosha recipes, right?
I've been trying, but it's tough.
It is tough. It is really, really tough. And everybody's dosha is so different that, you know, when you're first starting to learn, you know, it's kind of difficult. Now I kind of just automatically know. I'll even use my pendulum to what I can eat and what I can't eat. Or I'll take my car keys when I'm in the grocery store and I'm really hankering for like the box of Cheez-It crackers, like, you know, the extra toasted Cheez-It crackers.
Oh, I love those things.
Love them. I can eat a whole box in one sitting, right? And I take my car keys when nobody's looking and I'm like, can I have these, Spirit? No. Damn it. Like, okay, what can I have? Apples.
apples.
Okay. So apples and peanut butter it is for my snacks.
That's
But
what's been hard is because I think I'm more Vata. So trying to create recipes just for myself, but then having other people want me to create recipes for them. So
I
I'm
know
eating it all. So I'm just eating it all,
it's
because
difficult.
I'm cooking
And
it
it's
all.
I think it's even more difficult when you have to eat more pizza foods because you have to have a lot of spicy foods to ignite the fire. So so if you're lacking the pizza and that's your imbalance, then I almost feel like that's kind of more difficult, but I don't know. All I know is I can go to a farm, eat a bunch of fresh vegetables, and I'm on the right track. But I'm kind of picky with my vegetables, so. But I'm getting better. I'm getting better as time goes on, and I'm getting more used to it and everything. And then your body starts to feel the benefits. But
Yeah.
anyways, so we
I
also want,
definitely do feel better when I eat what I'm supposed to. I
yeah,
definitely feel like I could eat just potatoes every single day and I would probably lose weight, and feel great. Because I did it for a little while. I was just doing like boiled potatoes, and then I would season them different ways, and sometimes I'd fry them. I could eat fried. I mean, it didn't matter. And I was losing weight eating that way. Whereas for years I did the low carb diet.
so yeah,
And
you're probably more Vata because that's actually my favorite thing to eat is potatoes. But potatoes has a bad effect on me.
yeah,
So I wish I could eat your diet. That would be great. um,
that's what I thought would be fun. But when I first introduced this like idea to Bryce, I was like, well, I was thinking like a feast for the doshas. So like do a whole like spread like for every dosha, and like, just kind of like a party, like a big,
that's a
maybe.
large grocery list.
Yeah, it would be. That's all I want to do is just stay home and cook though. So I should do it.
On the bright side, I can eat your pickled vegetables and be totally fine. So I'll have to invest in some more pickled stuff. Make it easy on myself. So yeah, everybody, if you want to go visit Angie's channel, like I said, I will link it down in the description box below. But since we're coming upon the season of Christmas and we just had Thanksgiving, Angie and I were talking off camera. And I think it's really important we kind of address this and talk about it because I think a lot of people who watch our videos kind of probably are in the same boat as us. And that's, you know, holidays are very difficult now. You have a lot of divide in families now, especially with people who believe in what we believe.
Right.
And we feel we need to speak the truth, right? And well, we have a bunch of family members who want to continue to have the blinders up or alienate us because we didn't get this, and stuff like that. So there's many different issues that are creating this major divide. And there's a sense of loneliness when it comes to the holidays now. We were talking and you've been completely, actually, your family has been terrible to you, what they've said to you.
Yes.
Mine have just completely ignored me and haven't even called me in 2 years. But it's lonely. And, what my circumstances going through is normally I would have my in-laws to go to for Christmas, but because I'm in the middle of a divorce, that's like a no can do now. So it's like I don't have my family and I don't have that part of my family anymore. So luckily I had one of my best friends that lives local to me. Her family has invited me over for Christmas, which I was nearly in tears when I got that invite because that meant the world to me. And they're going to include my son for, presents and stuff like that. So that meant a lot. You know what I mean? So it's really lonely though, regardless, because your family, they're not treating you right. They're not, it's like, do they even care?
What's hard for me is knowing that I'm not really wanted around, but then I have 3 children, and especially like my son, he loves to do the family stuff, all the family stuff. And so
Yeah.
I'm like, what do I do? Do I say, you can go, I'll be over here, This year we have this lake cabin for December. we share this place with my husband's family, and we get it like 4 months out of the year, and we happen to have it for December this year. I'm going to put up a Christmas tree here. I'm going to just be here. Anybody who wants to be here, this is where I will be. And I'm going to have Christmas here and New Year's and all that here. And just kind of remove myself from any of the drama back home. But that's just, I mean, that's what feels good to me. But when you were talking, I was thinking of the Michael Jackson song just started coming to me, like, you were not alone. Oh. But that's what people need to know. Like, we do feel alone. It's a lonely feeling. I'm the only one. Well, my daughter, my 16-year-old daughter, is like on the same page as me with all of my crazy conspiracies. But she's the only one around me that will even listen or even bring up stuff or like fist bump me about stuff. Like, yeah, I saw that, Mama, or I heard that, or I felt that, or it's like you just kind of see through the fake matrix. And so I have her, but it's a lonely place, and we're not the only ones feeling this way. So a whole lot of people watching are feeling the same thing, and have been even without the holidays. You just on a regular day-to-day basis, like feeling.
It's well, I mean, I've gotten definitely absolutely blessed this year, between my friend inviting me and then Bryce's family had me over for Thanksgiving. So I had the opportunity to have a Southern Thanksgiving. It's wonderful. And
you want to get to the South so bad. You just want to get to the South so bad with palm trees.
Well, what I found funny is, so here in the Northeast, we call, the breading that you make with the celery and everything called stuffing. Okay. I did not realize that you guys down there call it, what do you guys call it? Dressing? Is it called dressing?
Dressing.
Yeah.
Dressing.
They're like, would you like some dressing? And I'm like, I'm confused. I don't have a salad.
Well, I think because a lot of times we don't really put it in the turkey.
We do here.
So it's just on the side. So it dresses the turkey instead of stuffs it.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay. That confused me. I'm like, wait, what? You call this what? So anyways, that was like the only thing I was a little confused about, but yeah. But so yeah, it was nice to have a nice Southern Thanksgiving and get to meet Bryce's family, which they were also very, very nice too. So and it even allowed me to have my dog there too.
My best friend asked me for my dressing recipe, like through a text message. And I was like, oh, sure. And I sent her my Caesar salad dressing recipe. Because, that was the first thing that came to me was like, that people are always asking me for that. So, but she was like, no, dressing. Dressing.
Speaking of Caesar salad dressing, I didn't, you know what? I might want that Caesar salad dressing now because I love Caesar salad. So
good, and it's not using raw eggs and stuff, so it's real easy. But yeah, my daughter in Brooklyn, New York, makes it all the time. Yeah, every time my daughter has friends over, she's like, "I'm making that Caesar dressing," and I'm making. Anyway, yeah, it's good stuff. But yeah,
love Caesar salad. I love salad. That's the one good thing about having to eat Vata foods is I can have all the salad I want and I won't gain anything. Yeah. Just put a bunch of vegetables on there, some chickpeas. I'm good to go. It's all good. So I eat a ton of salad now. But yeah, it's the holiday is kind of tricky now. And so if you're out there in the world and you're feeling the same way, just know that you are not alone. As Michael Jackson sang in his song, you are not alone. And my thoughts are with you guys. So, because it is a very, very difficult time.
And I wonder, like, if you'll have comments open, if people can share maybe like how they deal with it,
that would be a great idea too. I just had this thought in my head. I don't know if I'll go through with it, but I'll have to think about it. I'm not going to be doing anything Christmas Eve, so if I were to even open up a Zoom link and people could just pop in and say hi or whatever if they want to talk, or, you know, kind of just come on into the Zoom meeting and just chat with a bunch of like-minded people to kind of maybe help with the loneliness a little bit. I'll have to think about that. So if you're interested in me doing that, put it in the comment section.
That's a really fun idea.
I just had it pop into my head, so that maybe that's a God wink that I need to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I could just link it in, like, link my Zoom link, and I can't talk today.
Well, I think you can make it where you don't have to put a password in, maybe.
Yeah, yeah, you can. Yeah. I can like put it on my community tab or something like that. So I'll have to think about it, and then more to come on that. But it did just pop into my head. So I'm wondering if God is like, you need to do that. So we'll see.
I like that.
Is there anything that you wanted to share today, Angie? Because I know you wanted me to kind of pull cards on a couple of things, or.
Well, I was telling you before we went on record about my grandma. I don't know if that's any questions we could ask or the cards about that. I don't know, but I really do feel like that is because one woman that ran into me that said, "Does the name Margaret mean anything to you?" She said, "Oh, and she's saying, keep going, keep doing what you're doing." I'll never forget that. This was years ago. I'm like, but what am I doing? Like, I don't know. Like, but I do know all my life since I was a child, I have felt like I was supposed to fix this. I was supposed to bring light to who Margaret was, and somehow heal my father, and in turn, because I feel like I've done a whole lot of work on myself. But every time I'm around him, and I do love him, even though he did hurt me growing up. But I see how he was hurt, and by all the secrets. And I think that anyway, I'm just feeling like that's really part of what I'm supposed to be doing, reviving Margaret.
So to kind of tell the audience kind of a little bit about this, what do you want them to know about your grandmother? Like, and the reason why I'm asking you this.
My grandmother became pregnant in college. She wasn't married, and her mom sent her to go live in a home for unwed mothers. She was not married, and out in California. And she had my daddy, and when he was a little, like right before he was like 2, she lived in an apartment by herself with him on the second floor. And a preacher and his wife and their baby came to visit and invite her to their church. And when they went to sit down in Margaret's home, she traded seats with the preacher's wife. She said, "Hey, this seat is more comfortable for you and your baby." And when she went to sit down, when she traded seats and went to sit down, a man was cleaning a gun in the apartment downstairs, and it went off and went through the floor and shot Margaret, my grandmother, and killed her right there. And so,
was that done purposely, you think?
I'm wondering because I just got chills when you said that, because there are other stories about other women in the family that I've found, and one's in Sedona. I was just mentioning earlier to you that I wanted to go there, that she had a mysterious death too, a drowning. And I'm like, but she knew how to swim. Like, I'm getting like major chills, but I feel like there's just something more, way more to all of this. And I feel like, I don't know. I feel like I am supposed to do something about all this, Stephanie.
The star card with the 2 of Cups would indicate that's a yes. This is destined. So I wouldn't say your job is to necessarily heal your father, because that's for him to do.
A whole lot of pressure. Like, I feel
to bring light to who his mom actually was, and that she wasn't this bad person who, because you said he was so stuck on the fact that he was a bastard child, which comes from church indoctrination. So I do feel like it's more or less to bring light to who your grandmother is, perhaps, It's going to be a little bit rocky, but I think you already knew that. And it's more or less for your father planting seeds about who she is. But in the end, I think everything will work out with that Four of Wands card because that's like celebration. And so I do feel like you have a very strong connection with your grandmother, according to this spread. And that she's likely a spirit guide, especially if she's come out so many times with people indicating like who's Margaret, you know. That's happened to me with my grandparents. People will ask me, well, who's James? And I'm like, oh, that's my grandfather. Actually, my grandfather came out in my chart reading with Tamara. She's like, who's James? And my grandfather thought she was hilarious. So
I've got to get in touch with Tamara. I want to. Yeah, I need to get a reading.
She's wonderful. And I mean, and her chart readings are absolutely, it's very liberating. So if you can get a chart reading done by her, I highly recommend it because it is so liberating. Really brings to light kind of why you felt certain things throughout your whole life and everything. So, but as far as this goes, because what I specifically asked was, are you supposed to bring to light the truth about your grandmother? And the star card is an automatic yes right there. So, do you want me to pull? Oh, that's her necklace? Aw.
Her necklace. It's not real ivory, but you know, it's like the plastic ivory beads. All my life I thought it was real ivory.
Oh well, it was her necklace, so her energy is on that necklace.
And she grew up in Arizona, and a lot of her jewelry that I have, it's all like silver, like beautiful, like Native American, like
turquoise.
Yeah, not a whole lot of turquoise, but I do have one little like turquoise bracelet that she had. But yeah, I love it all. So very connected with her. I wear her stuff all the time.
That's awesome.
That wedding I was talking about, I actually was draped in Margaret. I had like my other grandma's crocheted shawl on, and I was like, had Margaret's silver pins everywhere and her jewelry. I mean, I looked probably ridiculous, but I was like, I am cloaked with with my
I have the armor of Margaret on.
I did it on purpose. Yeah.
That's so funny. But yeah, it's like I do think this is something I've been getting in a lot of the personal readings that I do for people is I feel like a lot of us old souls that are really deep diving into the happenings in the world right now, we have very strong connections with our grandparents, either one grandparent or a couple grandparents. Like for me, my mom's parents are very, very strong spirit guides. I had Reiki done. They came through. Tamara picked up on my grandfather. I've had another session with somebody who was picking up. Actually, I think it was Cindy had done Reiki. Cindy from Sacred Garden Yoga did Reiki on me, and I think was picking up something too. So every time I have some sort of healing done or whatever, they come through. Why? And I remember being told that my grandparents were not only spirit guides, they're not only spirit guides in the spiritual realm, but even when they were alive, they were also kind of like living spirit guides, but in a physical body almost. Because I remember that, you know, and maybe Margaret, if she were alive, you know, if she hadn't passed away she passed away when you were born, right? Way before you were born. Okay. Because your dad was only a baby. But I'm wondering if she would have been the same way with you if she were alive. But my grandparents were so protective of me. And it actually made some people almost jealous. And it wasn't anything I can control, but I felt like they always took it out on me. But they were so protective of me, but it wasn't like a smothering protection. It was just making sure I was always okay. I always had, you know, that they were always there to listen to me if I was going through something difficult. And so because I had them in my life, that was like a major security for me growing up. Because I won't go into detail on the screen here, but I had an interesting upbringing. Like the first 5 years of my life were they were interesting. they were not exactly the most stable. So, and my father had passed away when I was 4.5. So that was one of the instabilities, and can really rock you to your core when you lose a parent. But I'm so appreciative that I had my grandparents because they were always, always there for me. And I remember thinking, why is this? It's so weird because they passed away, but I cried, but it wasn't the end of the world. And I finally started to realize they didn't go anywhere. I can't see them, but they didn't go anywhere because I still feel their energy around me. You know what I mean? So,
Well, and so Margaret's mother, my great grandmother, I was very, very close to her. She lived in South Georgia next to my grandmother. That backstory is that Margaret's sister adopted my dad. So still in the family. And so my great grandmother, Margaret's mom, lived next door to Margaret's sister. So growing up, I was always over there, was always at my grandparents' house. And I was always hanging out with great grandma. And she taught me how to like make things with, like the Eye of God crosses. We used to do those like every time I went over, we were always making that. And she was telling me all these stories. And she got Alzheimer's. They moved her out to Oregon to live with the other sister, Margaret's other sister. And so when I was 14, we went out to go visit. And I was so excited to see her. And I was like, where's great grandma? Where's great grandma? They're like, she's upstairs in her bed. So I go up the stairs, go to her bedroom. And whenever I went to her bedside, she looked at me. My name is Angie. She looked at me and she says, get out of here, Margaret, you vain woman. It was awful. Like, I'm not Margaret. Get out, Margaret. And so,
wow.
So, yeah, it's a little crazy. But so sometimes I'm like, well, am I Margaret? I don't really think I'm Margaret, but but I used to when I was young, I would go, maybe I am. Maybe I don't know, maybe that's a real thing. But then yeah, so that happened. And when I was going down the stairs, there was a picture of Margaret and Gertrude. So Gertrude was the one that adopted my dad. And there was a little picture of them in the stairwell. And I took a little picture of it with my 110 camera. And that's the picture I still have of Margaret and Gertrude. Like, it's all over my house.
Do you look like her?
In some ways, I behave like her. Yeah, she was the free spirit. She did not follow the rules. She was rebellious. Yeah. And so that's what, yeah. And that's also my daughter that I named Margaret. Same. She's the same. She's the one I was telling you, like, she's the only one that I connect with, really. Like, I mean, all three of my children, we all connect, but Margaret Rose, we're just like, oh, we're too much alike. So alike. We're both Leos too, so it's really like,
oh God, like, bunch of fire.
Ready? Yeah.
That's funny because I understand my son a lot with a lot of things because my son and I are very much alike in a lot of ways. We're very different in a lot of ways, but he's been the troublemaker. Like he doesn't jive with the way the world goes. He sees through the bullshit. And you can't put the wool over his eyes because it just doesn't work. He sees, he's a walking lie detector. In other words, he knows when someone's lying to him. He knows when someone doesn't like him. Yeah. He senses things very strongly. And he reacts to it. Sometimes not in the most productive of ways, but he's gotten better since he is now older and he's able to understand his actions have consequences and, that sort of thing. But, we're both air signs. So, he's an Aquarian. I'm a Libra, but, he's a lot like me and me and him connect a lot and most people don't understand him. So when I go to explain to people, they're just like, they look at me like, well, aren't you going to do something about that? And I'm like, no, he's fine. He's fine. Let him be, because people have ragged on me about my parenting style. But here's the thing. My son is a very old soul. Like, and he's had he's seen Tamara and had his chart read and everything. I'm not worried about him at all. He is not on TikTok doing these woke videos. Okay. So that's step number one. He's not a furry. He's
Yeah.
he doesn't have all like 10 hoops coming out of his nose. He doesn't have pink hair. He knows there's only two genders. He knows how to read. He breezes through a book like that. He's a very good reader. He knows basic math enough to understand money and stuff like that and his fractions. So if you were to bake a cake, he knows how to do that. He's a very, very smart kid. So I kind of just laugh. And I remember Tamara saying to me through his chart, and she goes, for those who said he would never amount to anything, they're effing wrong. Because he's going to do this, this, and this. That's in his chart. And I was like, thank you, because I've always said he's going to amount to something. Always knew it, no matter what. And I've always advocated for him, no matter what, because I had this inner knowing, you know what I mean? I always saw the potential in him. The world didn't see the potential in him, but the world is a bunch of chaos and confusion. They don't know their head from their ass. So, and I think that goes for a lot of us too, where we grew up and we felt like outcasts. We felt like we didn't fit in. We felt like the black sheep. Although Shanti from Aquarius Rising Africa, I like her take on it. She doesn't say, no, we're not the black sheep, Stephanie. We're the sparkly sheep. I'll take that any day. We're the sparkly sheep. I like that. I like that a lot.
I like that a lot.
Yeah. Because you know what? We didn't come here to fit in. We didn't come here to be like the rest. We came here to stand out and speak our truth. So naturally, people are going to look at us like we're crazy.
I think that's so true. And like, sometimes I'm like, well, why am I where I am? Mm-hmm. Why am I where I am where I don't fit in? Well, that's why I am where I am, I guess, because otherwise you don't stand out and you're not going to be noticed.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I do feel like God's plan too, in a sense. Bryce had me watching American Horror Story, which I would never watch on my own, first of all. But I watched the Coven series and the Apocalypse series of it. And in the Apocalypse series, two of the witches had to go under a spell to hide themselves. And one of the witches that was supposed to be the most powerful of them, and when I say witches, I mean not a dark witch. They're not playing with black magic. They're light workers. They help humanity. She had to go under a spell where she forgot who she was, like amnesia, okay? And part of that was being belittled all the time and being crushed by everybody, being told she was nobody, that she'll amount to nothing. So I looked at that, watching that, and I'm like, that makes so much sense. In order to find out who we were, we had to go through what Bryce would call the friction to awaken us, kind of like, striking the match, to awaken us to understand what our divine mission is, what our destiny is, and how we're going to help humanity. Because if we were all born in these really easy families, it wouldn't make us stop to think like something's wrong.
Right.
But we were all born in families where we're like, what the hell? They're telling me to be like them. I looked at them and I said, are you kidding me? You're not a bad person, but I don't want to be anything like you. I love you, but I don't want to be like you. And it's so funny because when I got my chart read, Tamara worded it that way. And I'm like, yep, that's exactly what I would say. I don't want to be like you. And why are you telling me to be like you? Or, well, why can't you be friends with this group of people? Or why can't you act a certain way? And it's like, no, because it doesn't make any sense. We don't know why it doesn't make sense, but it didn't make any sense. Now we understand why. We felt so out of place. And I remember saying to a therapist one time, when she asked me, well, what brings you in today? And I looked at her and I said, well, I feel like I'm an alien. I'm on the wrong planet. Don't know how to get home. And I'm just trying to mingle with these humans. And she looked at me and laughed. And I said, no, I'm not joking. But But I think a lot of us can relate to that, right?
Exactly how I feel. Yeah, a lot. And that's like my daughter, this one I keep talking about. When I drop her off at school, she's like, here I am at my indoctrination asylum.
The indoctrination camp.
Yeah, she's like that. She's like, she wants so badly to fit in and have all these friends, but yet at the same time, she's just like,
yeah.
Oh.
Well, I was always friends with like a lot of the outcasts. I mean,
me too. I always have been.
I never had a group. I just kind of mingled with wherever I was accepted, and I was okay with that. I mean, there was a couple times I had some group, and it was just like I could see right through people. So when people would say, well, why won't you be friends with those people? And I'm like, because they're fake as fuck. That's why. No, not going there, not doing that. And I think just knowing I'm not alone in that, and knowing that most of us on this side of this, we've all experienced those feelings. So it makes so much sense. And to come to find out, we kind of are all aliens.
We are.
Yeah. Whether you're RH negative or you decided to come in an RH positive body, I mean, we're all, old souls are the star seeds, and we came here to shake things up a bit and, shake the world awake so that we can go forward in the golden age. When you were a young child, did you feel like you had a very important mission?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm finding that's common amongst us. As I do my readings, because I remember, I think that's why I was so obsessed with like Star Wars and all those, and Lord of the Rings, all those kind of movies with I like the Marvel movies too, like Iron Man and all that too. And plus, before I realized that Robert Downey Jr. is a Satanist, I thought he was kind of good looking, but but I'm finding that a lot of us feel like we have this like big mission, and that we don't know what that is. We don't know what that looks like, but we came in with a big mission. And I think as children, we just had this inner knowing. I just had that inner knowing.
And I'm about to be 50 next year, and I still feel that way, just like I did when I was a little kid. And I'm so afraid of dying before I finish it, like before I figure it out,
Which you won't, because that's all in your soul contract anyways. So if you're meant to finish your mission, you're going to finish it. And plus, apparently we're going to be living quite long after all this is said and done. So, and plus you don't look 50. You could pass for in your 30s.
Thank you. Next year's going to be wild.
Yeah, I think it's important to talk about these topics too, because again, like I said, I think we all feel like this, especially during the holiday season. Plus, my grandmother passed away in 2018 in December, right before Christmas. So Christmas wasn't even the same the year after in 2019. It was just weird. And then it's been just weird ever since. So, and I think a lot of us at this point, because of this thing that people have taken, I think a lot of us have a lot of sick people in our families now, a lot of deaths in the family.
So many deaths, so many, like if I even like look at Facebook, that's all I see are people like talking about another. And we went to eat at a restaurant here a couple of nights ago, and I heard like chatter. They're like, oh, did you hear? Like talking about all the different people that are sick and cancer and, out of the blue, like, oh.
Well, there was this
around me.
Yeah, and it's so sad. I hear ambulance sirens going all day long, and I don't live in the city. I live in the woods. I mean, we have stores and stuff. I don't live out in the middle of East Bumfuck or anything like that, but it's definitely not the city. So to hear an ambulance driving by 20 times a day, before this came out, you did not you didn't get that. I maybe heard an ambulance drive by maybe once or twice a week on average. Because yeah, people got sick. You know, you do get people that have issues and illnesses and elderly people, and you know, not, you know, life happens. But now there's a major uptick. And I was talking to a friend of mine who her husband, he is an EMT. I think that's what he does. Anyways, he works in the ambulance. And he said they went from, I think she had told me they went from like maybe 10 to 18 calls a day to all of a sudden like 30 calls a day or something crazy like that. I don't know. Major increase in calls that they had to respond to. And so, yeah, and that's, I think he works in a city, but it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And it's sad.
My best friend works in a assisted living place, and she was just telling me that they have, as of Thursday, we're 44 COVID positive, and almost 20 something. Worker man truck just pulled up. 20 something like norovirus or whatever it's called. You know, there's just so much. But I'm thinking like all these people got the thing, so how could there be 44 of them so sick with it?
Yeah, it makes us have to think. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I worry about my friends, you know, having to work and all that too, like be around it. But yeah. Mm-mm.
And then there's things like, did you hear about the big thing that's going around TikTok now with Emory Hospital in Atlanta? The nurses from the pregnancy ward. So the birthing floor at Emory in Atlanta, apparently there's this new challenge called the Ick Challenge, where you talk about what's ick to you, like yuck. And they were making fun of all these patients, like, oh, well, my ick is when this mother is constantly asking for blankets and like stupid shit. Like, that's part of their job. They get paid to help a birthing mother be comfortable and get through her birthing. Okay. And
they're putting this on TikTok.
They put it on TikTok. This was at Emory Hospital. Well, they all got fired. But I'm gonna tell the audience that it's not just Emory Hospital.
No.
I worked in the medical world for a long time. Doctors make fun of you, nurses make fun of you, medical assistants make fun of you. They all make fun of you. Especially if you're heavy, or if you have mental health problems, or if you're constantly asking questions. God forbid you ask a doctor a lot of questions. And it happens all the time. And the medical, the offices, it's a cesspool of gossip. And it was another reason why I had to get out of there, because I couldn't take the gossip anymore. Because it's a low vibration. It pulls you down. And it literally started, you know, that was another part of like why I felt ill all the time, because it's like, okay, so you're talking about all these people. What are you saying about me?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's a huge thing that is going viral as of this morning, or maybe yesterday, that I saw.
Yeah, my friend was telling me with all these sick people there, she's like, her coworkers, like they're not washing their hands, they're not changing their gloves, and they're just going from room to room, from sick person to well person, not even doing the protocols that you should just do out of common sense. Like, you know, no, she doesn't like having to mask up and do all, you know, all that, but she's like, but these people are really sick and I don't want to catch it. So like, you know, you just, and you don't want to give it to the next person, that she really cares about these people. She's always showing me videos of like Miss Elise over here and how she loves banana pudding. They won't let her have any, so she picks it up on her way in, you know, just.
Oh, she's a good nurse then.
She's a good nurse. And it tears her up, you know, to watch like some of these people are being left in their beds with days.
Oh, they're treated terribly.
Days of feces, you know, like, yeah. They don't clean them. They don't, yeah, it's not okay. It's awful. Yeah, she
Yeah.
cries. She said that she cries every day, just what she sees, and she just
Okay.
goes way out of her way to do not only her job but then their job too. Because
Yeah. Yeah. And I think too, this thing, as we don't want to say the name of it here, there is something within it that is changing people's personalities too. There was a TikTok video, this mother who, her daughter apparently is very starseedy and has been saying, she told her mom, and she put up a video, and she told her mom, Mommy, I had a very bad nightmare last night. Well, what's that, honey? What happened in your nightmare? Well, some people have robots in them and were controlling them, and then it would make them die. They would have heart problems. It would destroy their heart tissue, which we know is exactly what that is now.
exactly.
That's what's happening, is it's destroying the heart tissue. And it's also turning the brain into like Swiss cheese, where people are getting like what's called mad cow disease.
Wow. Yeah.
So, and those that are not getting affected by it, it's because the temperature was not adequate to keep the bacteria alive in the serum before it was administered. So if someone had it and they're not going through any kind of medical issues, that's probably why. But yeah, I mean, if you're talking about a medical office, there's a lot of gossip. I could write one day I probably will write a whole book about my experiences, because it took a toll on me after a while. I thought I had a mental breakdown, but I was having a spiritual awakening, which most people, let's talk about that for a second. Spiritual awakening. So spiritual awakenings is like a mental breakdown, right? I don't know how yours was, but I was like in a flippin' mental breakdown when it all happened.
I laid in bed like a lot. Like I just laid in bed, laid on the floor, like wherever, just doing nothing but just processing, I guess.
Yeah, same. Like I remember.
So tired.
Yeah, exactly. And I remember when I was going through my spiritual awakening, it was over a slow period of time. But when I finally jolted awake to understanding what's really happening around the world, like the Satanism and all that kind of stuff, I cried in bed for like 3 weeks straight. I couldn't get out. And I was planning so I had taken a leave of absence from work because physically my body couldn't do it. I needed a break. I had gotten to the point where my body would no longer function. I was in so much pain. I had to be walked up the stairs, literally. I actually was fearful that I was going to need a walker eventually, because that's how much trouble I was having with walking.
I don't have similar story. Yeah.
Well, what happens is when you're an empath, you're absorbing other people's energies and emotions, especially working in like a situation where I was working the medical field. And you have all these sick people around you, or you have a lot of people that come in as a patient will project onto you. They tell you their whole life story. So if you don't know how to flush that away, if you don't know spiritual hygiene, it is absorbed into your system because it's energy, right? So I didn't know any better. And I mean, and now I'm doing Ashtanga yoga. So I mean, that tells you something. I don't need a walker, and heck, I never will need a walker. Cancel that out. But I was so sick, and I literally thought I was going into a mental breakdown. Well, no, I was actually having a spiritual awakening. And the rest is history after that. And it's not a fun process.
No.
But what happened with you when you had your spiritual awakening?
Well, I didn't realize that's what was happening, but I was just sick. I was just very, very sick. And it was 2019, early, like maybe July, August 2019. Mm-hmm. And I just started getting really bad pain and couldn't walk, couldn't even stand my feet to touch the floor. Like it was too much. Yeah. Just all this pain, all this inflammation. And I started having to just work from my house. And I had a store at the time, a brick and mortar store. and it was leading up to the holiday time. We'd be so busy, and I was just at home in a recliner and just handling everything from my phone or laptop and having everybody else do all the things that I normally did. And that was like the first step of me just kind of like getting rid of my kind of matrix job too, was just like that kind of fell apart. December 2019, I just said, well, I'm just not going to sign the lease for the new year, and we're gone, we're out of here. And then, what happened right after that. So, I mean, it was just like the perfect timing, really, because if my store had still been open in 2020, especially in Athens, Georgia, all of Athens closed down. They closed down the whole city. You weren't allowed to. It was just awful. But yeah. So, and then after that, I'd have these like where I'd feel good, and then I'd feel bad again, and then good, and then feel bad again. And then finally, a lot of when I started seeing what was going on in the world, when I started realizing it all, and I shut off the TV, and but I wanted to talk about it. I wanted to talk about it, with my husband, and he.
But then they all think you're nuts, and you're like,
yeah.
I woke up easily. Why can't you?
Did you see it? Look.
Come on now.
Although I would be laughing at January 6th. I was laughing at the whole thing. I was like, that's so funny. Like, can't you see it? And other people around me would be like, oh my God. Look what these people are doing. Like, what is happening? Why can't people see what's going on? But I was the crazy one. So I removed myself. I went and got my own bedroom. And I mean, I just kind of holed up because at the time I had people working in my home too, because I'd moved my store into my house, like just doing my baskets and things. So I had employees working in my house. So I just kind of removed myself from the space where they were. And I would just stay upstairs all the time and really laying on the floor, meditating, breathing, crying, researching, like, and trying to find other like-minded people, like, that were waking up too, and, going through the same thing. That's kind of how I found y'all. But, but, and I just dismissed all those physical symptoms as that I was sick and, I have lupus and whatever. But I don't know. I think that maybe I was awakening my whole life, like just little, because I've always seen through stuff, always.
Yeah. When I was a single mom and there was no way for me to better myself, no way to get out of the slump I was in with financial hardship, because I was talking to my family at the time, but long story short, I couldn't stay with family because of a certain situation that had happened when I was 18 years old, and that was still being held against me at the time. And I was in and out of a very toxic, abusive relationship with my son's father at the time. And the going back and forth, it was misunderstood, but that's what happens. Women always go back and then they come out of it and then they go back. And I bounced around a couple times. And when I couldn't figure out how to get ahead and to live a stable life, I realized there's something very wrong with the system. There's something very, very wrong with the system. And that's kind of like how I started to awaken with like bank corruption within the welfare system and, that sort of thing. And I'm like, if something felt very off. And then like, if you go to like a food pantry and stuff like that, it's a nightmare. It's an absolute nightmare. Because they're giving you old rotten food, or you're getting canned goods that were donated and God knows what the expiration date is on it, and it was a very, very bad experience. And I felt like it was all set up to push people more into failure.
Yeah.
So
it's kind of like, it's not nearly as bad as what you've been through, but with the small business in the small food business, all of that, all the government regulations and all put on us, and all the like slaps that we would get for, like, I would be carrying a jelly in my store from a little old lady down the street, and they'd want to close my store down because I had 6 jars of her jelly. Just like, she's not licensed, or she's not a member of, or she's not inspected by the Department of Agriculture. And so I really just kept dodging those government agencies for years, just like, figure out how to work around y'all.
Well, why do you think mom and pop shops always close down? Because of all these regulations. And the system is set up so that Walmart and Target and all them, they survive, but the mom and pop stores don't. Like, when I do my grocery shopping, I go to local farms to support them, even though I might be paying a couple dollars extra, but I'm supporting local business. And I think that's very important, and I encourage everyone to do that if they can. I know that's not available in some places, but what was I going to say? Or I go to one of our grocery stores, their produce carries a lot of local farm stuff. So I'll get some of my produce there too. And then we have a local co-op. So I try to utilize those places. So I'm supporting. Plus, you're not getting chemicals in your diet when you do that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So it kind of helps you out, and it helps those owners out.
Everything, like the whole, like here in Georgia, we have Georgia grown. South Carolina has like certified South Carolina. These are all like things that, a lot of small producers like us, they want to be a part of that because they feel like that Georgia grown is it gives them like a sticker on there. And I have it on mine. It's on my jars. But I gave in when they wanted me to do all their little events and things. You had to be a member to do it. It's $100 a year. It's no brainer. But I don't really support what they are about. They really could care less whether you're even getting your produce from Georgia, whether they don't really care. They just want your money and your sticker. So you just happen to be in Georgia. And so it's all a scam.
Yep.
And then there's stores around that only want to carry Georgia grown products. So there's that. And they're like, oh, but are you Georgia grown? I got that all the time in the beginning. I was like, no, I mean, yeah, but no, I don't have the sticker. I don't pay the government agency. I mean, literally, when you get the emails from Georgia Grown, at the bottom it says a member of the Georgia Department of Agriculture. Like, it's not,
the Department of Agriculture is such a scam too. Yeah, the USDA is a scam. I mean, I went in a deep dive with the USDA too with Plum Island, because the USDA is involved with Plum Island and their doings, and Plum Island is don't even get me started. It's awful. So I mean, that's where you get Lyme disease from, and all those diseases, and just not good. But
yeah, I watched your videos about that. It's very, very.
Oh, I'm not done. I actually, hint for the viewers, I will be soon diving into Montauk Point. Montauk Point is located on Long Island, and it's literally a mile from Plum Island. So it's the very tip point on Long Island, and there is a military base that so-called is abandoned, but people that go hiking in that area seem to find that their satellite dish on top of the main building moves every now and then. And there's a bunch of conspiracies around that place.
Wow.
So I will be deep diving into that. I'm trying to get equipment to start filming on site with different places, because I want to expand my channel. So I guess I could come out with this on this video for a little sneak peek in the future with Stephanie, because I have taken so much time off from my channel, which I do once in a while. I get very overwhelmed and I have to take a step back. I've had a lot of tarot readings lately. I've been reading almost 6 days a week, doing more readings than I've ever done before, and also I've done some Reiki on a couple people too that truly needed it. And so my time has been taken up by that, but I'm going to try to also designate at least 1 to 2 days a week where I am posting videos and such so that people have some content to view. But I really want to start filming on site in different places. Like I want to go to Norwich, a sane asylum or whatever it's called, the Norwich State, or the Norwich. I forgot what it is, but it was an insane asylum, but there was an orphanage there, very haunted, and you can take ghost tours in there. So I do want to film in there. I want to film in Devil's Hop Yard, which is a state park. There's a lot of stuff around that. But if I can even go to Montauk Point area and scout it out and see what's going on there when it starts to warm up, of course, because I'm not freaking going out in the snow, okay, or the cold. No, thank you. But yeah, I want to start doing stuff on my channel where I'm actually like on site filming.
Well, where I am right now in North Georgia on Lake Burton, it's there are lots of lakes here that are for power for that company that I've talked about before, Georgia Power, right? There's some fishy stuff going on here. So there used to be a town of Burton, and that's why this is called Lake Burton. They flooded the whole town, and the cove that I am on, it was like 1917, I think. The cove that I'm on is called Murray Cove, and it's named after the one and only landowner that would not sell his property over to Georgia Power or the lake. But he let them put the water line up to his property, but they couldn't flood any of his property. So anyway, I kind of love knowing that he was the only one. So I've been going around to all these cemeteries around here. It's crazy. There's some creepy stuff. There's this whole thing about like a black fever where all these babies, there's a whole bunch of baby graves, like a whole bunch, and they're all from something called the black fever. I feel like there's a lot more to it. And I've got a little video clip I'll send you after we get off from here, but there was a couple of 3 little cabins that we were really interested in buying. They were for sale here. They're all together right at the base of the Burton Dam, like the dam. And well, we were told that somebody in Florida had bought them, and so we missed it. We missed we couldn't buy it. So the last time I was up here, I'm riding by, and they have put, when I say they, Georgia Power has now put up a fence around, and this is not an area that needs this kind of fence. Like this is in the middle of nowhere. They put up this fence around it with the barbed wire that faces out at the top, and then it's like no trespassing. These were beautiful cabins. They were built in 1917 for the engineers that built the dam. And my dream was to buy them and have them as Airbnbs. They're right here. I mean, right around. I can walk to them from here.
Oh, wow. It's funny you mentioned that the place was flooded. So when I visited Norris Dam in Tennessee, the same exact thing, they flooded the area. What the hell are these people hiding?
Right, and they moved like graves.
Yeah. Weird shit.
People aren't questioning this. I'm out here going, I can't wait till the water level is dropping right now.
Yeah.
I'm wanting to go out on a kayak, and I've got a friend up here that's local up here, and she's like, well, I know where the cemetery was. Want to go kayak over the cemetery? I'm like, yeah, I sure do.
Oh my God. I wish I lived down there, because then I'd be like, let's do this, Angie. Let's go cause trouble and go to the kayak, go in the cemetery and go scout out what's going on here.
It's kind of January. I've got this house in January too, this year. And April and July and October next year. So anyway.
Oh my goodness. Wow. Wow.
And it's creepy. And everybody around here knows it. Like when we go to my favorite restaurant here, he's like, what cemetery are you going to, next? I just was texting the owner of the restaurant last night. I was like, hey, is this cemetery worth the trip? And he's like, oh God. He's like, which cemetery? I'm like, it's called Frady Cemetery. I found it on an old map here in the house. Like I just was looking at the old map. I was like, it's there. He's like, I'm not into the cemetery thing like you are, but go for it. We like just
Cemeteries to me are so fascinating. I'll spend hours in a cemetery, hours. And I'll take my divination board with me and I'll have my
yeah.
pendulum spell out some messages from whoever.
You would love this area. This is like the bottom of Appalachia. Like
Yep.
it's full of
I've seen pictures of it. Sounds beautiful. I mean,
it's beautiful, but there's also like just an energy around here that I'm like, why does everybody just go along with everything? It's
well,
weird.
I think there's two types of people. Okay. Well, three types of people. You have the truly evil ones, and we know who those are, the Rockefellers and all them. But you have people, who easily awaken to things because something doesn't feel right, something feels completely off. And then you have people who just are perfectly happy keeping their blinders on.
Yeah.
I mean, some of them wake up slower than others, and then some of them just won't wake up at all. Like for me, my opinion is the Christians, the really really fundamentalist Baptist Christians are going to be the hardest to wake up,
It is hard.
especially when they find out the truth about Jesus. But that's going to be.
I've quit saying anything. I mean, I think my mom watches some of my videos, so she kind of gets little bits here and there. But
Yeah.
and I'm careful, you know.
I don't go broadcasting it. I'm kind of allowing, Bryce and I put out our videos and such, and, we can talk about it here, but it's like, I don't go broadcasting it because I already know what's going to happen, and it just needs to come out in the divine timing, and I don't know. I'll admit, like, coming out of the church was easy for me because I always had a feeling there was something wrong with it. And I only stayed because of the fear that I would go to hell if I didn't stay within it. You know what I mean? That there was always that fear behind me. But the Jesus truth was the tough pill for me to swallow. I was actually a little bit resentful in the beginning. I didn't lash out at anybody. I'm not going to yell at anybody, but internally, I was feeling like I think that was the biggest programming for me to really come out of, because all the other programming was like, oh yeah, that makes sense, okay. That one though, that was a hard pill.
It's still hard sometimes, you know. I catch myself.
It's like, so who do I pray to now? Even saying Lord means the fallen angels or something like that too. So I don't even that's why I never even say God. I say source, creator, universe, or whatever now, because I don't even know what to call God. Like, what do I say? What do I do? And then again, it's like my intentions are what God is looking at. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so, yeah, I don't worry about it so much, even whenever like I'm blessing food, with a
yeah.
Yes. Okay.
I now put my Reiki symbols on my food and my water to bless them. And I always say something like, I am thankful for a universe blessing this food to my body, or this food is going to bring me health and abundance and happiness and so on and so forth. So that's kind of what I do now. Instead of sitting at the table and saying a Hail Mary or a Our Father or whatever, the way
right. God is good. Let us thank
God
him.
is great. That's what we used to do at our table, was that little prayer for the kids to make it easy. So yeah. And then my husband would always say, well, why are we saying amen? Why can't it be a woman? And he would say that as a joke. And then what is it? Raphael Warnock had said a woman during that speech one time when he said a prayer to Satan or something in the middle of like a Senate meeting or whatever. I don't know if you remember that from 2020.
I don't.
Yeah, wow. Everybody said amen, and he goes, and a woman. And I'm like, what? I'm like, okay. Well, I have a reading in a few minutes here.
I'm leaving. I'm going back to Athens. So this is
okay.
I'm going to make a couple of deliveries up in Clayton, Georgia, and then head on back home. But yeah, this was fun. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. I had fun too. I need to get my channel going more and bringing guests on and everything like that. So thank you so much for being a guest for my channel. And everybody, make sure you check out thickles.com and purchase some of Angie's delicious pickled vegetables.
Yeah.
And yeah, we'll have to do this again soon.
Thank you, Stephanie.
You're welcome. Bye, everyone.